Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Gauranitai ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Today, Rasikananda Prabhu is busy with another program and he's not able to be our facilitator today. So please excuse us for a few, let me say, few glitches there in our startup. We hope that things will go smoothly now. And today, being in between Lord Balaram's appearance day and Lord Shri Krishna's appearance day, so we will try to hear something about the wonderful pastimes appearance of Shri Krishna in this world. We just had a wonderful festival here in New Mayapur. Although the weather here is rather warm, it was more or less 40 degrees centigrade yesterday and more or less the same today. It's quite warm. We don't have aircon or fans here in this temple. So when it gets hot, we get hot. We hope we can keep cool. And we'll see what mercy Krishna bestowed upon us. We had Madhava Prabhu, the famous Kirtaniya, here with us for Balaram Purnima. Even some of you may have seen online. Wonderful kirtans, and going late into the night. And many devotees came, mainly youth. We had about 50 youth with us from different places, France, Spain and Sweden mainly, a few from here and there, but mostly France, Spain and Sweden. They came with a youth tour to have their, their program here at New Mayapur for 1 week. It was very wonderful. We had 80 or 90 devotees on the Harinam party in a local town on Saturday with the permission of the police and the mayor. And a very wonderful experience with many devotees coming to honor. And this, in a few days' time, we have Janmashtami. I'm sure it's different in different places according to the situation. In terms of the externals, internally, Janmashtami is the same in the sense, depending on how much we could say, reciprocate with the Lord's appearance in this world. And here in France, we're, with the mayor's permission, the law is that we can have festival here with precautions. Inside the building, everyone's wearing masks. Outside, there's whatever degree of social distancing is possible is followed. And we're getting quite a large program also for Janmashtami, apparently. So the main thing is in our hearts to try to remember Krishna, to try to focus our attention on Krishna's appearance in our hearts. So we'll start with Jai Radha Madhava, and then we'll hear something about the beautiful appearance of Lord Shri Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabha Jai Radha Kunjabha Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabha Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabha Gopi Chanabha Girivardha Chanabha Gopi Janabha Girivardha Janabha Yasodhanandana Prajajanandana Yasodhanandana Prajajanandana Yasodhanandana Prajajanandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhana Gopijana Ballava Girivardhana Gopijana Ballava Girivardhana Yashodanandana Rajadanandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gauritai ki jai, Shri Krishna Janmastami ki jai, Shri Balaram Purim ki jai. Go Premandi, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Garanga, all glorious to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamiti. Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Vacharine Nivasesha Srinivai, Astichari Shatari. Jai Vanchakalpatrubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvyevacha, Pratinam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. I wonder, Yash Prabhu, is it possible to try to find a fan? My body heat temperature is going up rather high, okay, and it might be difficult to sustain.
Okay, I will try to find it.
Yeah, if you can. At least a little bit of fresh blowing air.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, as Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada said, in this material world, one thing we need is a fan to cool us down or a heater to heat us up or something. There's always something to try to alleviate the disturbances of being in this material atmosphere and to rise to transcendental above the atmosphere. I'm not on that platform, so we need a little bit of assistance from some source or another to cool the temperature down a bit. Excuse me one moment. It's a little bit cool. Hare Krishna. So today, try to prepare us a little bit for the upcoming festival, Janmashtami. Maybe you're having it in your homes, I don't know. But wherever we are, we want to be absorbed in welcoming the Lord in our hearts, and by doing it, so to speak, externally, this helps to create an internal impression in our hearts so we can remember Krishna more and more. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha Jagatitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. All together. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha Jagatitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Interesting to note, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself uttered this prayer at the Rath Yatra festival. And the meaning of this prayer, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Sri Krishna, who is the worshipable deity for all Brahminical men. who is the well-wisher of cows and Brahmins, and who is always benefiting the whole world. I offer my repeated obeisances to the personality of Godhead, who is known as Krishna and Govinda. And that's a quotation from the Vishnu Purana. And sometimes we wonder where that comes from, but it's from the Vishnu Purana 11965. We probably don't have the Vishnu Purana. And another famous verse, also spoken by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but this is to be found in other places also, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, maybe in 11, I don't know, maybe 12th canto or something. Jayati Jayati Devo Devaki Nandanoso, Jayati Jayati Krishna Vrishnivanksa Pradipaha, Jayati Jayati Mega Shamala Kamalango, Jayati Jayati Prithvibhara Nasho Mukunda. All glories unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the Son of Devaki. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the light of the dynasty of Vishnu. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily luster is like that of a new cloud, and whose body is as soft as a lotus flower. All glories to the Supreme Personality of God, who appeared on this planet to deliver the world from the burden of demons, and who can offer liberation to everyone. Tirtam chakre niponam yadajani yarushu Shvasarit padashocham snigdam Swarupam yayorajita parashir yadate Jannamam mangalam vinam shutamta Saditam yadvito gotradhanam Krishna nasyaitan nachitam shidivalaparanam This is a very significant verse, and if you have your Bhagavatam, you can see it. 10th canto, chapter 90, text 47. 10, 90, 47. Beautiful verse. It's at the end of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. The translation of this verse is, the heavenly Ganges is a holy place of pilgrimage because her waters wash Lord Krishna's feet. This is what makes particularly the river Ganges, this is coming from the causal ocean, but specifically as it enters into this world, it touches the lotus feet of the Lord. But those who hated Krishna, but when the Lord descended upon the Yadus, his glories eclipsed the Ganges of the holy place. For those who hated Krishna, those who loved him, attained eternal forms like his in the spiritual world. The unattainable and supremely self-satisfied goddess of fortune, for the sake of whose favor everyone else struggles, belongs to him only. His name destroys all inauspiciousness when heard and chanted. He alone has set forth the principles of the various disciplic successions of sages. What wonder is it that he, whose personal weapon is the wheel of time, relieved the burden of the earth? It's a wonderful purport, and of course, in this particular purport is taken from the commentary of Vishnu Chakravarti and other acharyas. It's not directly in the Bhagavad, but it's a beautiful purport. From beginning to end, the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam has been exclusively dedicated to reciting the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. As Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti said, this verse sums up the 10th canto by mentioning 5 special glories of Sri Krishna, that even his expansions, his plenary portions and incarnations do not display. And those five very special glories of the Lord are that the Lord's reputation eclipses the river Ganges. Another river, the Yamuna, became even greater than the Ganges, by contacting the dust from Sri Krishna's feet in the districts of Braj and Mathura. Lord Krishna gives liberation not only to his surrendered devotees, but also to those who consider themselves his enemies. He gives liberation to everyone. Anyone had the good fortune, especially those to be killed in his presence or left their bodies in his presence. Krishna gave them at least liberation. Some of them personal, but received a personal form on the, you could say, the periphery of the Lord. Goddess Lakshmi was unable to win of joining the intimate company of Lord Krishna's devotees in Braj. She could not transcend her natural mood of reverence. The sweetness and intimacy Lord Krishna manifested in Vrindavan constituted a unique kind of opulence found nowhere else, even in Vaikuntha. As Sri Uddhava says, to exhibit the strength of his spiritual potency, Lord Krishna manifested a form just suitable for his human-like pastimes in the material world. This form was wonderful, even for him, and was the supreme abode of the wealth of good fortune. Its limbs were so beautiful that they increased the beauty of the ornaments worn on different parts of his body. I may have to adjust the fan a little bit, it's a bit too much on my neck. It's probably better down, so probably on the floor or something, I'm not sure. Just a little bit to keep it cool. This is another unique feature of the spiritual realm of Krishna's bringing that realm, manifesting that realm in this world, to give us that opportunity to attain something which even the goddess of fortune cannot attain. Because she has a certain mood which is not to be found in Vrindavan. When we see Krishna's appearance in this world, he appears in Mathura as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. And in that particular situation, he's known as Vasudeva Krishna. It's not the same. It's described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and by Srila Prabhupada in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, that simultaneously two Krishnas appeared, one in Mathura, one in Vrindavan. Mother Yasoda is the eternal mother of Krishna. Krishna, of course, is unborn. He's the source of everything. But his relationship with Mother Yasoda is eternal. The motherly relationship is eternal. No one can become Mother Yasoda. It's not that Krishna was born of Devaki and Mother Yasoda is actually the foster mother. Although you could say from a material perspective, that's what happened. That's not actually what happened. The Krishna born of Devaki and Vasudeva is known as Vasudeva Krishna. And Devaki and Vasudeva, the eternal mother and father of that form of Krishna. The form of Krishna imbued with some reverence, awe and reverence. In this way, Krishna not only Mathura, but in Dwarka, Kurukshetra, this is the form of Krishna who appeared as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. It's the same Krishna, just relating differently to his devotees, therefore he assumes different moods, and he assumes different dresses, different pastimes, etc. But the pastimes of Goloka Vrindavan, manifested in this plane called Vrindavan, are unique. There is no presence of awe and reverence there, and any living entity who has a reverential mood as such is not yet eligible or will not be eligible to enter into Goloka Vrindavan. One has to be completely freed of that. One's love has to be completely spontaneous, unalloyed, and with nothing, obviously no other motivation, but no presence of reverential, completely free love. This is the highest form of pleasure which Krishna experiences with his eternal associates. Mother Yasoda is an eternal associate. She's eternally, she doesn't become Mother Yasoda. When we read in the Bhagavatam sometimes that Drona and Dara became the mother and father of Krishna in Gokul Vrindavan, what it means and what is described as by the Acharyas is that Yasoda and Nanda expanded themselves. One of their Bhashya expansions was to ask Drona and Dara to teach, to show the way that we can develop that mood, that spontaneous mood of prema, which is fully manifested Yasoda and Nanda at the appearance of Krishna. So actually, when the actual appearance of Yasoda and Nanda expanded along with Krishna to serve Krishna in this form, on this plane, on Bhoma Vrindavan, the forms of Drona and Dara merged into those forms. This is what happens when the eternal associates of the Lord appear along with the Lord. Certain living entities, sometimes the demigods, etc., merge into those forms. It's not that the demigods become the eternal associates. They enter into those particular forms for various reasons. They associate with those personalities to get their internal association or to perform certain activities which are not really the business of the internal associates to perform. Like that. Similarly, in the form of Vrindavan Krishna, the form of Vasudeva Krishna may also sometimes manifest. When Krishna kills demons, that's the form of Vasudeva Krishna, killing demons. Even when we hear those demons killed in Gokul Vrindavan, that's the Vasudeva form of Krishna. So when Vasudeva took that child across the river, little boy across the river, baby, and placed that baby next to Mother Yasoda, who apparently had given birth to a little baby girl at the same time. And then, of course, Vasudeva took that baby girl back to Mathura at that particular point of time. And the story goes that, of course, Mother Yasoda was so exhausted she didn't even know if she had a boy or a girl as her child. So it's normally, we only hear the story where she therefore found that she had a baby boy. And that baby boy was the boy born of. Excuse us, the Mother Yasoda gave birth to two children, twins, a baby boy and a baby girl simultaneously. The baby boy was not seen by Vasudeva, but the baby brought by Vasudeva merged into that baby boy, the son of Nanda. Yasoda Nanda. He merged into that baby. Anyway, that's another story. Then later on, when Akrura left Vrindavan to go to Mathura, he brought back the child of Devaki and Vasudeva. He didn't bring back the child of Nanda and Yasoda. He brought back that portion of that, that form, that aspect of Krishna and Balaram, who were actually children of Vasudeva and Devaki. Vasudeva and Devaki originally. And the original forms remain in Vrindavan. They never step out of Vrindavan. It's a mood, it's a consciousness, it's a reciprocation. It may appear that they're in unmanifest uppercut form, and the residents of Vrindavan are experiencing separation from the Lord. But as Srila Prabhupada many times, our acharyas many times explain that mood of Vipralambha, feeling of separation, is even more intense and more imbued with prema than actually meeting. And then meeting is ever increasing. So this is a glory of the Lord that reverence even the form of Vasudeva Krishna, born of Devaki and Devaki and Vasudeva is not the same. It doesn't have that same business as reciprocating the loving exchanges that Krishna has with Nanda and Yasoda, or with his coward boyfriends, or with his, what to speak of, with his coward girlfriends. So this is a very special, unique feature of Krishna, which you will not find in any of the other expansions of the Lord. Be they complete or partial, we will not find this characteristic there. The name Krishna is superior to all other names, very significant for us. It's described, I think maybe not, in one of the Puranas, Vishnu Purana, somewhere, that 1,000 names of Vishnu are equal to one name of Ram, and 3 names of Ram are equal to one name of Krishna. Of all the names of the Supreme Lord, the name Krishna is the most complete in every respect. These 2 syllables, Krish and Na, combined to destroy all inauspiciousness and illusion. Krishna, removal of all inauspiciousness, removal of all darkness. The recitation of Krishna's name totally crushes the excellence of all other spiritual practices. It's interesting. Crushes the excellence. In other words, it's super excellent. Others may be excellent. Krishna's name is super excellent. Videshya yeshu tapasachaya dhameshya punyapalam pratishta. Krishna explains that those who take to pure devotional service are not bereft of the results obtained from any of the practice of devotional service. Of yoga, or charity, austerity, sacrifice, whatever it may be, study of the scripture. So the chanting of Krishna's holy name contains everything. There's absolutely no need of any other spiritual practice. Everything is there. Of course, we do other things because we can't just chant Krishna's name. We're not eligible. Our minds are very wandering. Our senses are very attracted to material sense objects. We have so many attachments in this world. So we do engage in so many other activities to try to purify all these various anarthas which we may have. But the main thing is the chanting of the holy name is sufficient in itself. It's complete in itself. The Lord is endowed all of his transcendental potencies in the holy name. Everything is there. And as most people probably all aware, how we hear this famous verse in this age of Kali, there is no other means of attaining God realization other than chanting of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya particularly introduced this chanting of the Mahamantra in the name of Krishna. In the words, the recitation of Krishna's name, number 5. Lord Krishna solidly reinstated Dharma on his 4 legs of compassion, austerity, cleanliness, and truth. Thus Dharma could once again become Gotra, the protector of the earth, the cows, and the Brahmins, the cows. It's a very interesting pastime in the Bhagavatam. Demigods approach the Lord, in the ocean of milk, they approach Lord Shri Vishnu there. And this is their way of approaching when they need some request on behalf of Mother Bhumi is overwhelmed. Overload, we could say, the overload of demoniac instances on this planet, requesting on behalf of Mother Bhumi to please relieve Mother Bhumi of her burden on this earth. And so the Lord assured them that he would soon appear in this world. So he establishes real religious principles in the real sense of the term, not just Naimitika in terms of temporary religious principles which help people to become pious, to help them to become a little more eligible to move towards spiritual life. Krishna spoke in the Bhagavad Gita, in which all necessary guideline knowledge is given for us to come to that point of perfection in the human form of life, not just pious human form of life. They re-established the highest Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, and perform his transcendental pastimes so that everyone can have the opportunity to associate with him. This is how he establishes the highest Dharma by himself performing his pastimes, killing demons, Parisanasa and Vinashaya to do Skitan, and silent and enlivening his devotees. There's another beautiful verse in the same chapter, the next verse in fact. Jayati Janananda Vasudevaki Janmavaro Yadavara Parishat Svardo Virasyanna Dharma Jitachira Vijinagna Sushmita Shri Mukhena Vachapura Vinitanam Vardayam Kamadeva. Lord Sri Krishna, as he was known as Janananda, the ultimate resort of all living entities. And it was also known as Devakinanda or Yasodananda, the son of Devaki and Yasoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms he kills everything inauspicious, as well as every man who is impious. By his presence he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities, moving and inert. His blissful smiling face always increases the lusty desires of the gopis of Vrindavan. May he be all glorious and happy. Can you turn them on? The next verse. To protect the principles of devotional service to himself, which is the highest dharma, Lord Krishna, the best of the Yadus, accepts the pastime forms that have been glorified here in Srimad. One who desires to faithfully serve his lotus feet should hear of the activities he performs in each of these incarnations, activities that suitably imitate persons of the forms he assumes. I'll read that again. One who desires to faithfully serve his lotus feet should hear of the activities he performs in each of these incarnations, activities that suitably imitate persons of the forms he assumes, following in their footsteps, their mood, type of service, etc. Hearing narrations of these pastimes destroys the reactions to fruitive work. In the last verse of this 10th canto, by regularly hearing, chanting, and meditating on the beautiful topics of Lord Mukunda with ever-increasing sincerity, a mortal being will attain the divine kingdom of the Lord, where the inviolable power of death holds no sway. For this purpose, many persons, including great kings, abandoned their mundane homes and took to the forest. In the purport, for the Srimad Bhagavatam's 10th canto, this verse is the Phalashruti, the promise of success given to one who hears it. Humbly offering his comments on the 10th canto at the lotus feet of his worshipable Lord, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti prays, if Lord Gopal mercifully accepts the cows of my words, then his dear devotees may enjoy the pleasure of drinking their milk, the nectar produced by hearing them. This is the final comment on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's very important to understand the importance of hearing the pastimes of the Lord, not just from the entertainment point of view, as we were hearing, maybe some of you were with us a week or two ago, how these pastimes of the Lord remove so many obstacles or nartas within our heart. Now, these pastimes of the Lord are there, Srila Prabhupada himself said, so we have something to think about, something to occupy our minds with, remembering the pastimes of Krishna, maybe other incarnations, but specifically remembering the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, as Prabhupada has given us in the Krishna book and other places. This purifies our heart, absorbs our consciousness in remembering Krishna. So we're going to, especially on these days, like festival days, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes Madhavaditi Bhakti Janani. How these festival days are like mothers of devotion for those who observe them. The more we observe these festival days of the Lord's appearance in the world, the appearance of pure devotees, we sometimes have festivals to celebrate our own birthday or our children's birthday or some events of this world. But the most important thing is to honor and remember these great personalities, to speak of Krishna, all the devotees of the Lord, remembering their appearance days. This helps us to get their association as well as their blessings. And gets very special mercy. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes the one who hears these pastimes develops confidence, determination, satisfaction in their hearts. So we can progress in our spiritual life with a purified or clarified heart, more determination and confidence. It's important to observe these things. He also goes on to say, when with great care I observed the days like a Kaddish in Janananda. Prabhupada wrote in one letter to one of his disciples named Swati. At that time, I think she was in London. Best way to maintain enthusiasm is by regularly chanting with the devotees together in the temple and by having festivals. So you should immediately have one festival and everyone will be busily engaged. There are so many festivals, I can give you one for every day of the year. The Prabhupada was very, let's say, keen on festivals, and they were doing that in LA one time. Practically every day, some kind of festival was being held. Very enlivening and very purifying, bringing devotees together. Observing the various types of festivals, this is from the 7th Canto Bhagavatam, such as the Janmashtami, Ramnavami, and Nrsimha Chaturdasi, is also included in the process of deity worship. In other words, it is compulsory for householder devotees to observe these festivals. If we want to advance in Krishna consciousness, this is one joyful way which we can try, whatever way it is. When we didn't need, probably even less before I joined, but when I joined the temple in the early 70s, mostly we didn't have any idea about who the personalities were, even the forms of Godhead. We didn't have much understanding of this one or that one. And whenever a festival was there, we would observe it. There would be some kind of feast, more kirtan, something or another. As much as we can. It's nice to do this in our homes. We may not be able to do it very extensively, but to some extent, at least read something. Read from Bhagavad Gita, read from something, so that we can remember Krishna, honor Krishna on his appearance day, honor Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, honor the devotees of the Lord. And by honoring Krishna, just by a simple thing of remembering them, reading about them, offering them some extra dishes, chanting their names, having kirtan, being conscious like that. Krishna will be conscious of us. This is called surrender. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Just a simple thing, very simple. Krishna conscious Prabhupada said, simple for the simple. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, my dear Uddhava, one can give up false pride and prestige by engaging in the following devotional activities. And I'm sure we'd all like to give up false pride and prestige. So this is Uddhava giving us some clues. He's a very confidential servitor, friend of Krishna. So he knows how we can get free of this pride and false prestige. He says one should always discuss my birth and activities and enjoy life by participating in festivals such as Janmashtami, which glorify my pastimes. We used to read, this one sometimes we still do, we used to have constant reading of Krishna book in the temple. In those days, there was not so much of a public program because the movement was very, you could say, in infancy stages in the West at that time, with very few Indian congregation and hardly any congregation of any kind. So it was mostly just the devotees in the temple, some guests, of course. And all day long in the temple, reading of Krishna book would go on from morning to night, non-stop, from beginning to wherever we got to. And kirtan would be going on simultaneously, and some would be chanting japa, all simultaneously in the temple going on. Those who were not busy cooking, cleaning, worshipping the deities or whatever. These other activities were going on. Of course, sometimes there was some special class or whatever, but other than that, these activities were going on all day long. It's a very, very purifying effect. And we can also do this even in our homes, if you can. Reading Krishna book, Krishna's pastimes, maybe if there's only a small family, interspersed with kirtan, as much as possible all day long. Kirtan and reading is going on. Maybe having to cook sometimes, but as much as possible, keeping fully engaged. This is how we celebrate or honor Janmashtami, as Uddhava says here, a way to give up our false pride and prestige. In my temple, one should also participate in festivals and ceremonies by singing, dancing, playing musical instruments, and discussing me with other Vaishnavas. One should observe all the regularly celebrated annual festivals by attending ceremonies, pilgrimages, and making offerings. One should also observe religious vows such as Ekadashi and take initiation by the procedures mentioned in the Vedas, Pancharatra, and other similar literatures. Beautiful verse there, encouraging us, reminding us of the power, the effect of days like Ekadashi, Janmashtami, and other festivities. And so, mercy of the Lord that He appears in this way. So we have this chance to enter into His pastimes. When He appears in this world, along with His eternal associates, is to give different living entities the opportunity to get His intimate association. And we can get that association by hearing submissively from His devotees, hearing Him by from Bhagavatam and so on and so forth. This way we also get that chance. It may not be in one sense the same as those qualified devotees through sadhana, practicing of sadhana, whether they be the Municharyas, or whether it's, whoever they may be, Shruti, whoever they came, Shruticharyas, different personalities who became qualified by desire as well as by their practice of devotional activity, their intensive desire wanting to enter into Krishna's lila, into his pastimes, and got that opportunity to take appropriate forms when Krishna personally appears and associate with his eternal associates amongst the gopis, the sakyas, those in parental affection, etc. There were different kinds of personality. There were the Lord's eternal associates, and there were also those who were entering into that association. This is the mercy of the Lord that He gives this opportunity, gives us an opportunity. We have to develop desire. We have to practice the process of devotional service, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, under the direction of pure devotees, gradually becoming purified in our consciousness, so that our hearts develop nothing but service to Krishna. And if the desire is there, the good fortune is there, developing spontaneity in our devotion towards the Lord. Meaning there's no other motivation other than to please the Lord. Motivation is love, not so much fear or reverence, or these various other factors which we find in the practice of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. We're not on that level maybe, but we follow those who are. Srila Prabhupada has recommended nectar of instruction. We follow such personalities who are eternal associates of the Lord, and by following in their footsteps, then we can also this mood of loving affection, which is the most pleasing to Krishna, can awaken. And the Lord will manifest in one's heart according to our surrender. He'll reveal Himself accordingly. I'm going to read now a beautiful description. This is from Nanda Vrindavan Champu of Kavri Karnapura, one of Lord Chaitanya's associates. So one of his the son of Shivananda, the same, but he was also a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is translated by Banner Swami and Subhag Swami. And this is a beautiful description of the birth of Lord Krishna. Now we will discuss the truth about the transcendental birth place of Bhagavan and the appearance of Lord Sri Krishna. Once upon a time, Bhumi, the predominating deity of the earth, felt overburdened by different demons posing as members of the royal order. Feeling aggrieved upon seeing her miserable condition, the lotus-born Brahmana appealed to Kshirodaksha Vishnu. Please deliver Goddess Bhumi, who is feeling greatly distressed by these demoniac kings. Only you can remove this terrible influence from the earth. The time for an appearance of the Lord coincided with two internal desires of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. First, the Lord desired to descend on the earth to increase the fortune of Yasoda and Nanda. Also at that time, Krishna wanted to relish the sweet mellow of Sringara Rasa, paramour love, while enacting his worldly pastimes. For these two reasons, the Lord appeared within the material creation of Bhuloka, the earth planet, along with his parents, friends, and other eternal associates. Another distinction of Lord Krishna's earthly pastimes is that when the eternally liberated gopis, such as Srimati Radharani, Chandravali, and others appeared, the Shrutis personified also appeared in the homes of other gopis, because they had previously cultivated the desire to serve Sri Krishna as Braja gopis. As that was in the pastimes in Dandakaranya, the sages, upon seeing the Svakiya Bhav, the sweet conjugal relationship of Lord Ramchandra and Sita Devi, desired to have the same relationship with their Lord Madan Gopal. Upon attaining perfection in their sadhana, they achieved the fortunate position of appearing as gopis in Vrindavan. Yoga Maya, Lord Krishna's pastime potency, who possesses unlimited abilities, appeared invisibly in Gokul to arrange this and perform other difficult tasks on behalf of the Lord. Sri Nanda, Yasoda, and others appeared as Brihadvan and Mahaban before the Lord. The Gopas, Gopis, and other eternally liberated associates appeared after the Lord. Then those who had attained perfection by sadhana, namely the Shruticharis and Municharis, took birth in Vrindavan. Some of his associates took birth before his appearance, prepared the way, some just after, and some when things were ready for them to enter in to the pastimes with the appropriate eternal associates of the Lord. All arranged by the Lord to satisfy his devotees and fulfill their particular desires. Learning of Krishna's imminent appearance, the earth personified, feeling like a wife, happily greeting her husband after a long separation, immersed in unlimited joy. At the time of Krishna's birth, the general mass of people tasted the inner bliss that devotees forever relish. Auspicious signs abounded everywhere. As Vishnu's conch shell, Panchajanya, opens in a clockwise fashion. Similarly, auspicious sacrificial fires glowed in all directions. Pure, gentle breezes brought a refreshing coolness like devotees who satisfy and sanctify everyone with their calm, sweet, and affectionate behavior. This is what makes a place a holy place. I was listening to a lecture of Prabhupada this morning, and we were talking about holy tirthas, but he was describing Vidura, and when Vidura came back to the court of the Yadra of the Kauravas, Kaurava Pandavas, and Maharaja Yudhisthira, receding, saying, well, more than a holy place of pilgrimage, because you carry the Lord within your heart. Vidura had been on pilgrimage to so many holy places. The Prabhupada was describing how the devotee makes a place holy by his pure presence, removing all the coverings of the holy Dham. We may go to Vrindavan, we may go to the birthplace of Krishna, Mathura, or wherever it is, Gokul, but our hearts are covered. The pure devotees of the Lord remove those coverings by their presence, by their words, by their association, by serving them. come so we can actually enter into the Dham. It's not just about getting a ticket to go to Vrindavan or Mayapur or Puri or wherever it is. It's a matter of actually consciousness. We have to get that ticket, that visa to enter into the spiritual world. It will be granted by the pure devotees of the Lord. We have to apply application. We have to apply their instructions. We have to do like filling in the forms for the visas. We have to do it. Just about being there. We have to take advantage. Same with our temple, our home, everything. We have to take advantage of the temple, the deities, the program, the association, both the opportunity to serve, kirtan, everything is there. You just have to take advantage of it. And that way our hearts will be cleansed by the association of pure devotees of the Lord. The whole atmosphere became as completely purified as the heart of a devotee. The devotees once again found peace and prosperity in worshipping the lotus feet of Lord Hari. Fruits filled the jubilant trees, but the envious demons exhibited various inauspicious signs of degradation, such as rapidly aging bodies and symptoms of imminent death. We also find in our little humble efforts to propagate the glories of Krishna and Sankirtan, preaching in various ways, that those who are inimical, they often exhibit various signs of animosity, rejection, various ill behavior, etc., etc. For the devotees, although it may be seemingly disturbing, because they're fixed to the lotus feet of the Lord, are not perturbed or disturbed. The desire vines of the celestial denizens seem to be hanging in the air, as if eager to produce fruits. At that time, all the directions became felt as pure and joyful as the mind of a devotee who has received the mercy of Lord Hari. Just as gems, mantras, or medicines can remove a poisonous disease from the body of a man, the advent of the Lord will relieve the world from the contamination of material existence and the sinful effect of the demons. Happiness gradually placed the distress in everyone's hearts. And I'm sure we've all experienced that when we're absorbed in kirtan, when we're absorbed in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna Kirtan, association of devotees. All of our distress, all of our disturbances go away, or when we come into the association of a pure devotee. When devotees would come into Srila Prabhupada's association, there were no more difficulties, no more what we experience or label as problems, troubles, whatever, dissipate as the fog dissipates in the presence of the sun, as dirty places are evaporated in the presence of the sun. Similarly, in the sunlight, the presence of the sunlight, devotees, all difficulties are evaporated in their pure association. I want to speak of Krishna Suri Maya Hayandakar, how Krishna is just like the sun, and Maya is like the darkness. Wherever there's Krishna, there can't be Maya. So we should try to always keep Krishna in our lives. Pictures of Krishna, chanting, hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so on. Beautiful form of Krishna. And in this age, the Lord has appeared in the most accessible, merciful form of Nam Prabhu. That's the name. He is the name. It's not the name of exactly. It is Krishna himself in full. So we have this opportunity to associate with Krishna in this most accessible form, very merciful form. Everyone, no matter how fallen we are, is being given the chance to associate with Krishna in this form of Namprabhu, the holy name, who has appeared in this age specifically for the same reason he appears as Krishna himself in his threefold bending form, etc. Same reason, to give everyone the chance to associate with him and to remove the demoniac mentality in our hearts. The bodies of all creatures manifested extraordinary beauty and useful vitality. Prabhupada have said that. The devotees, when they're chanting and dancing, they're just like peacocks dancing around, in a sense, very jubilant. Very jubilant. Peacock sometimes dance very jubilantly. He said devotees like that. And they look very young and healthy looking, absorbed in kirtan. Otherwise, we can get morose. It's dull, morose people generally are. They may laugh at certain things, but principally generally they're dull, morose, because they're not connected to Krishna. The more we connect to Krishna, the more we become, let's say, surcharged by his qualities. Those qualities which are in the living entity, maybe they're inert, they're within the nature of the soul, become manifested the more we associate with Krishna. Everything is based on association amongst devotees, the deities. Everything is based on association. The more we associate with Krishna, the more our hearts become illuminated. Happiness twinkled in everyone's eye. Throughout the world, people behaved cordially and interacted amicably. At the end of Dwapara Yuga, which completely destroys faults and doubts, an auspicious, favorable, obstacle-free time appeared on the 8th day of the waning moon in the month of Bhadra, just as that sweet moment at Rohini Nakshatra, along with the good qualities of the moon and an auspicious conjunction of the stars called Ayusman, appeared in the sky to give shelter to gentle persons. As the living entity comes out from the womb of his mother, and the moon appears on the lap of the eastern direction, Yogeshwar, Sri Krishna, the personification of complete bliss, appeared amidst great festivities. As the moon appears in the lap of the eastern direction, which is like a beautiful bride, Krishna manifested the wonderful pastime of his appearance out of his love and compassion for the conditioned souls. Due to austerities performed in previous lives, Vasudeva and Devaki received the opportunity to momentarily relish parental affection for Lord Sri Krishna when he appeared before them in his form of Vasudeva. Thereafter, in fear of Kamsa, Vasudeva brought Vasudeva Krishna to Gokul. There the Supreme Lord appeared as Govinda before Nanda and Yasoda, his eternal parents, who have been smothering him with the sweetest form of parental love since time immemorial. The four symbols of Vishnu, Shank, Chakra, Gada, Padma, adorned his hands and feet. The flute, flower garland, and the Kaustuva money, although present within him, have not yet manifested. At least they were not manifested in that form of Vasudeva Krishna. In fear of cruel Kamsa, Vasudeva decided to transfer all his wives except Devaki to Gokul. He sent Rohini to the house of Brajarajnanda. By the sweet will of the Lord, Yogamaya arranged for the seventh child of Devaki, Balaram, to enter the womb of Rohini. As a result, Balaram appeared in the home of Brajarajnanda before the birth of Krishna. As he also appeared as Anantashesh in the womb of Devaki to prepare the way for Krishna's appearance. One of the expansions of Lord Balaram as Anantashesh, so many expansions from Lord Balaram. But one of them to serve the Lord as a couch for the Lord, as a bed for the Lord, providing the various facilities for the Lord Ananta Shesh, that particular form of Balaram, appeared in the womb of Devaki and prepared the womb, cleared up the womb after the appearance of the first 6 children who Sadasuras, from Marichi, they were born of one. Marichi, which means the mind, various unwanted, but various inimical nature, envy and greed and lust, anger, madness, illusions. Those were the 6 children of Devaki. They represented these 6 inimical natures. And therefore the Lord in the form of devotee, the Lord in the form of this, in the mood of service, Natashesh, appeared there to clear the womb in preparation for the appearance of Krishna. Similarly, we have to purify our hearts for the Lord to appear therein. We may have lust, greed, anger, illusion, envy, and so many other characteristics. But when we take shelter of Balaram, in this case, Ananda Shesh, but in the sense of the spiritual masters, when we take shelter of their instructions, when we take shelter in this way, then the heart can become cleansed, purified, so that it becomes a fit place for Krishna to sit in the heart, to reside in a purified heart. This is the Lord's desire. He wants to reside there. He could say he's already there, it's a fact, but he's not manifesting himself. He's there as super soul, but he's not manifesting himself in the way that he wants to, so to speak. Certainly he's guiding all living entities, but he wants to have a loving exchange with all living entities, not just as a distant, unseen, unknown feature, but actually having a loving relationship. So it'll appear in the heart of a devotee whose heart is completely purified. Lord Hari, who was bliss personified, appeared in the home of Nanda Maharaj, the king of Vrindavan, for 3 reasons: to engage the self-satisfied sages in devotional service, to please the devotees by performing sweet transcendental pastimes, and to relieve the earth burden caused by the demons. At the time of his majestic birth, Krishna employed his inconceivable powers to appear in a body of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Everyone in the maternity room swelled with joy upon seeing the Lord's exquisite transcendental form and looked like a creeper of beauty. Mother Yasoda resembled a lake of spiritual ecstasy in which a brilliant blue lotus of personified bliss had appeared. Neither the wind nor the bees relished the fragrance of that blue lotus. The unborn lotus was never touched by the waves of the modes of nature. Even Lord Brahma could not see it. What to speak of ordinary eyes? After Yasoda and her family members all fell asleep in the maternity room, Hari cried beautifully like a newborn baby. His crying sounded like the Mahavakya Omkar, announcing the auspicious arrival of his pastimes. Omkar is a transcendental vibration that had previously emanated from the mouth of Lord Brahma. When the ladies of Vrindavan heard the sweet sound of Krishna's crying, they woke up and ran to see the Lord. With the mellow of their matchless overflowing affection, they anointed his body. The natural fragrance of Krishna's body smelled just like musk. After the ladies bathed Krishna with sweet ambrosia, he looked cleansed and beautiful. Then they smeared his body with fragrant sandalwood pulp. The presiding deity of the house sent a champaka flower, resembling the flame of a lamp, into the maternity room to worship that ornament of the 3 worlds. With the strength of his little arms, delicate as the tender leaves of a tree, Krishna made all the lamps in the maternity room look like a garland of lotus flower buds. The ladies of Vrindavan saw baby Krishna like a blossoming flower made of the best of blue sapphires, or like a newly unfurled leaf of a tamal tree. Krishna looked like a fresh rain cloud decorated with a musk tilak of the goddess of fortune of the three worlds. The ointment of the greatest auspiciousness lined his eyes. His presence filled the maternity room with good fortune. Although a mere baby, Krishna had a head full of curly hair to hide the unique signs of on his hands, the gold, fish, conch, etc. The Lord folded his delicate petal-like fingers into his lotus palm. At that time, Krishna laid on his back with his eyes closed. Mother Yasoda awoke amidst the joyous chattering of the elderly gopis. Leaning over the bed, she admired her gorgeous son, but upon noticing her own reflection on Krishna's body, she imagined it to be another woman. Thinking that a witch had assumed her form to kidnap Krishna, Yasoda became bewildered and yelled, "Get out of here! Go away!" Simultaneously, she cried out to Nrsingadev, "Protect her precious son." Beholding Krishna's tender face, Yasoda showered tears of affection that looked like an offering of a pearl necklace. Yasoda saw Krishna's body as a mound of dark blue musk, softer than butter churned from the milk ocean, overflowing with nectar. His charming body appeared like the foam of milk, but being dark blue in color, it seemed the foam was full of musk juice. Admiring, which is very dark, admiring the supremely delicate form of her son, Yasoda worried about his safety and feared the touch of her body might hurt his tender body. As she leaned over the bed, Yasoda bathed Krishna with the milk dripping from her breast. The elderly gopis instructed Yasoda how to caress the baby in her lap and affectionately push the nipple of her breast into Krishna's mouth to feed him. Due to Yasoda's intense love, personified bliss flowed from her breast as steady streams of milk. This was Yasoda's first birth, childbirth. She was also quite old, but she was older than usual at this stage. Oftentimes this happens. Quite often. The Lord or his associates, they're quite old when they conceive of their children, conceive of the Lord for various reasons. We may be old in our physical form. It doesn't matter. At any stage of our lives, we can embrace Krishna consciousness. And even in some ways, when we're old, it's more fortunate because there's less, generally speaking, less irritation from the waves of material desire. Maybe we've already fulfilled or finished many of our material ambitions. We're unable to, say, absorb ourselves or at least participate in varieties of sense enjoyment. So in old age is often very favorable. In fact, in the Bhagavatam, it describes how this is a special mercy that we have old age. We don't like it usually. We may not welcome it. But actually, it's a good fortune if we take advantage of it, because we can no longer enjoy the material world as we did before. A great opportunity to dedicate ourselves to inviting the Lord into our hearts by completely absorbing, practicing absorption in Krishna consciousness more and more and more, without the responsibilities, without the pushings of youth or the responsibilities of middle age, etc. That is what it's meant for. The last years of our life are dedicated to the service of the Lord. So even never mind we're old, one can still, you could say, conceive the Lord in our hearts by chanting and hearing about him. Ideal situations. So for a devotee, particularly one who is aspiring for spiritual life, old age can be a great blessing in that sense, where senses do not all function as they did previously, and also others do not see us in quite the same way. We're no longer as attractive to others in general, and so that's the good fortune at that time to take shelter of Krishna. After feeding her son, Yasoda gazed affectionately at him in wonder. She saw her child's body as made of dazzling blue sapphire, His mouth resembled a red bean bimba fruit, and his hands and feet looked like exquisite rubies. Krishna's nails shone like precious gems. In this way, Yasoda thought her child was completely made of jewels. Then she perceived that his naturally reddish lips looked like manduka flowers. His hands and feet resembled java flowers. His nails looked like malika flowers. Yasoda then thought Krishna's whole body seems to be made of blue lotus flowers. He does not appear to be mine. After thus deliberating within herself, Yasoda became stunned in amazement. The beautiful, soft, curly hairs on the right side of Krishna's chest resembled the tender stems of a lotus. Seeing the mark of Shrivats on his chest, Yasoda thought it was breast milk that had previously spilled out of his mouth. She tried unsuccessfully to remove these milk stains with the edge of her cloth. Struck with wonder, Yasoda thought this must be the sign of a great personality. Observing the sign of Lakshmi, a small golden line on the left side of Krishna's chest, Yasoda thought a small yellow bird had made a nest amidst the leaves of a tamar tree. Could this be a streak of lightning resting on a rain cloud? Or could it be the golden streaks marking a black gold testing stone? Krishna's delicate leaf-like hands and feet glowing pink like the rising sun looked like clusters of lotus flowers floating in the Yamuna. Sometimes Yasoda saw the curly, dark blue locks of baby Krishna as a swarm of bumblebees surrounding his face. Intoxicated from drinking too much honey, the bees were just hovering in the sky. His thick, beautiful blue hair appeared like a dark light. The two lotus eyes of Krishna looked like a pair of blue lotus buds. His cheeks resembled two huge bubbles floating in a lake of liquefied blue sapphires. Krishna's attractive ears looked like a pair of fresh, unfurled leaves growing on a blue creeper. The tip of Krishna's dark nose appeared like the sprout of a tree, and his nostrils looked like bubbles in a Jamuna river, the daughter of the sun god. His lips resembled a pair of red java flower buds. Krishna's chin rivaled a pair of ripe red jambu fruits. Seeing the extraordinary beauty of her son fulfilled the purpose of her eyes and submerged Yasoda in an ocean of bliss. The elderly Brajbasi ladies addressed Brajrajnanda. O most fortunate one, you fathered a son. Previously, Nanda Maharaj felt deeply aggrieved over his long-standing inability to obtain a son. His heart was like a small lake that had been completely dried up during a long, hot summer. But when Nanda Maharaj heard of his son's birth, he felt as if the dry lake of his heart had been blessed with a blessed with a sudden downpour of nectar. The gentle sound of Krishna's voice removed all of his grief and lamentation. Now he bathed in the rains of bliss, swam in the ocean of nectar, and felt embraced by the joyful stream of the celestial Ganges. Eager to see his son, Nanda's body thrilled with astonishment and waves of ecstasy as he stood outside the maternity room. Because he had accumulated heaps of pious activities, it appeared that the king of Vrindavan was now shaking hands with a personification of pious deeds. Anxiously standing in the background, Yogamaya induced Nanda Maharaj to enter the maternity room. He rushed in to see his son, the personified seed of condensed bliss. It seemed that all the auspiciousness of the three worlds now resided within Krishna, the original cause of everything. Nanda saw his son as a perfectly charming person. The kajal around Krishna's eyes looked like lines on a black creeper of beauty. As the very embodiment of Nanda's good fortune, Sri Krishna bloomed like a beautiful flower in a garden of desire trees. Well, I'm going to finish there. It's a description of Krishna's appearance in this world, how attractive, unlimitedly attractive Krishna is. We may not have the eyes to see, the purified eyes, to see that beautiful form. Although by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we do have the opportunity to hear about it, and perhaps we're attracted to the beautiful forms of the deities wherever we are, or pictures, beautiful paintings of Krishna. Somehow or other we have to become attracted to Krishna, somehow or other. Otherwise we'll never lose our attraction to this material world. Perhaps we're attracted to service. This is another accessible form of Krishna. Perhaps we're attracted to chanting the holy names, another form of Krishna. We must have an attraction towards Krishna. Otherwise, without that, our attraction to this material world will continue to haunt us. So we can see from Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj how their attraction was so complete, so full. They are running. Some of you may have experienced that, devotees running to the temple. Not so much in ISKCON sometimes, but when we go to temples in India, especially in Jaipur, you see the devotees running to the temple to get there for the darshan, the party, whenever it's going on, some festival. They just want to be in the presence of the Lord, presence of the deity. That spirit, that enthusiasm, in the case of the eternal associates of the Lord, cannot be compared. That's basically their very consciousness itself. It's unending desire to be with Krishna, unending desire to see Krishna, love Krishna. In that case, we may have to practice it. But that enthusiasm in devotional service, that appreciation in devotional service, let us speak of the remembrance of Krishna in our activities, in our daily lives, brings us to this point where we may become eligible to receive that mercy as a pure devotees, and in their association we can develop, awaken this type of pure devotional spirit in relationship to Krishna. So we may also appreciate, as here we see Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, how the experience they're having in having this association with baby Krishna. If we can develop that appreciation for their devotional service, appreciation for other devotees, this is we could say following in the footsteps, imitating, or whatever we wish to call it, practicing this mood of devotion of the pure devotees of Vrindavan. Then Krishna will appear to us. Then Janmashtami will become more than just a festival which we put on. It will be a constant shower of, we're hearing whatever different things here, of nectar showering every moment. And we're in this mood of seeing this eagerness for wanting to please Krishna, wanting to see Krishna happy, etc. So we'll finish there. Maybe there's some questions anyone like to ask. You can send them on chat if you wish. Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
We don't have any. We have a few questions.
We have some questions. Here we are. Okay. So, we have read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that our constitutional position is the servant of Krishna. There are times when we forget this position, when we are caught up in our materialistic duties. What should we do to remember our position and stay fixed in our service? Nice question. Nice. I can say relevant to most of us that we forget. This is the nature of the material world. One of the aspects of Maya is to cause the living entity to forget his, you could say, his relationship with Krishna, and to cause us to see ourselves in the center. Forgetfulness of Krishna means basically we want to put ourselves in the center, and remembrance of Krishna means maybe the process in the beginning of putting Krishna in the center. So what do we do when we call false ego, which is, you say, the influence of Maya, her jobs, one of her activities is to cover the living entity and cause us to identify with this material world, cause us to forget our true identity. So what do we do? Well, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, has given us this process to try to avoid this by chanting as much as we can all day long, if we can, even when we're doing other things, to chant as much as we can. This is one practice to remind us of who we are and what we are. Now we come into the material world, we become covered over by association. We become released from this material by association. So we need to associate. And that association should be positive, not just some, socializing, but it should be favorable to remind us that we are Krishna's eternal servitors. That is our constitutional business, to serve Krishna. And in this world, our business is also the same, to serve Krishna. You cannot take away from the constitution of living entity, either serving or everyone is serving. We can't stop serving. We're serving our senses, we're serving our mind, we're serving our country, we're serving our family, we're serving in so many ways. Boss and so on and so forth. Service is our constitutional nature. And we have to remind ourselves every day. We have to try to remind ourselves. There are some external ways we can do this. Maybe we can have some cards that we take with us to remember. From time to time, we can look at them to remind ourselves of our spiritual objective, our spiritual nature, the servant of Krishna. We can try to get as good association as we can, but especially in the morning, nice program. But ideally, of course, most of us are in situations where we have to associate with persons who are very much under the illusion of bodily identification. So in that association, naturally, it's more difficult to remember. That's why we have temples. That's why we have in our home, as much as possible, to remind us of Krishna. But communities of devotees, working communities, Prabhupada wanted farms, environmental situations where devotees would be in a situation where we always remember Krishna. When we're in Vrindavan, Mayapur, always we hear the sound of Krishna's name, Krishna's pictures everywhere, people talking about Krishna, singing about Krishna, serving Krishna. That's what Prabhupada wanted us to create facilities like this. In the city, of course, it is, you could say, much more easier to get deviated from this. But this is how it's meant to be. Places, holy places of pilgrimage, where we go in our own towns, our own cities, so we can go and become, recharged, surcharged again with remembering of this. And engaging, finding out how we can engage in whatever we're doing in life in relation with Krishna, trying to practice remembering how my activities are related to Krishna in so many different ways. We can remember this. And that requires the association. We need association of devotees as much as possible, in whatever form we can get. I find myself getting easily swept up into an ecstatic state and can't get enough. I can't get enough while in kirtan, bhajan, and harinam. Is there a way to bring this excitement and attachment to the holy names into japa? Why is it so very different? We feel elated when we're doing something reciprocal with others, when there's a reciprocation with other devotees, and when we're performing Yuga Dharma congregational chanting of the holy name, some in service also, when we're absorbed in service, we may feel elated. It might be related also to our material condition. It may be due to reciprocation with the Sankirtan, or the activity itself, of sharing Krishna consciousness with the public. Whereas when we're chanting, sitting on our own, chanting japa, we may not feel so elated. Quite often when we're chanting japa, the mind wanders away from what we're trying to do. Whereas when we're absorbed in some service, which we're maybe cooking or whatever it is, usually our mind is more absorbed in the service, especially if it's a service which conditionally we like doing or we develop a taste for. We're usually absorbed in it. It requires the engagement and involvement of our senses. All of our senses are busily engaged, even on Harinam Sankirtan. The feet are moving, dancing, the arms are playing instruments or raised up. The body is moving. The eyes are, maybe they're engaged in attracting attention of others or whatever it may be. The voice is chanting aloud the holy name of Krishna, and one is with others doing the same thing. One is like a part of a kind of, like a team, part of a group, and this carries us, picks us up and carries us in that spirit of elation, enthusiasm. It may not be pure in every sense, but it certainly is very enlivening. There's no doubt about that. And when we're chanting japa, we're on our own, with our minds. Most of our senses are not very active in terms of physically speaking. Sometimes we get up and walk, but generally speaking, not so actively engaged in relationship with chanting, especially sitting there. Maybe we're, mind is wandering off somewhere. So how can we bring that same unity, of that same focus? I think we'll use the word focus. We may not be focused when we're doing other services in terms of focus on the form of Krishna, but we'll be focused on the service itself. So how can we bring that into japa? Well, Srila Prabhupada has himself said that, it's not like you can expect that immediately. It's these services which we do, especially congregational chanting, etc., bring us to that platform. When we start to appreciate, we start to understand that the holy name of Krishna is Krishna. When we're chanting japa, this is our time of when we have our special, you could say, personal time with God. You can meditate on this. This is one thing. Try to meditate or remember that this is our time with Radha and Krishna, those few hours. And when our mind starts to wander, you can say, hold on, I'm in the middle of a meeting. Just like when you're in the middle of a meeting, if you do have meetings at school or work or wherever it is, and then something comes on, you may say, can you please call back in 2 hours? We're in the middle of a meeting. So we're in the middle of a meeting with Radha and Krishna by chanting their holy name. And we can reason like this. And the more we do that, then the more, it may not be that we'll start jumping up and down in the air. It may not be that we'll start laughing and becoming elated like that. But what happens is that Krishna reciprocates when we try to be attentive to the sound of his name and not just kind of do it. That's also maybe there in the beginning, but when we become a little bit attentive, a little bit surrendered to that service, making the effort to bring our mind back on the sound, trying to hear the sound of Krishna, Rama, and we try to bring our minds back. That's called surrender. We're surrendering to Krishna in the form of his name. Krishna reciprocates. He says, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So one will go through, depending on what stage of maturity we're on, one will go through various internal experiences. When we're not attentive, it remains all pretty much external. Okay, it's going on. You're keeping the lamp going, but you can't cook on a pilot light. You have to turn the fire. For sure, the other activities are very wonderfully effective. But when we're talking about japa, we have to turn the flame up a little bit. Not just a little pilot light keeping the mechanics going, but try to be attentive to what we're doing. That is our service. When we're driving a car, we're attentive. When we're doing deity worship, we're attentive. When we're at work, we should be attentive. And in things which we consider important, we're generally attentive. And Prabhupada said of all the instructions of the spiritual master, the instruction to chant 16 rounds is most important. We should try our best to be attentive. Association with attentive devotees is very helpful. Discussing it is very helpful. Reading about the value of associating with the holy name is very, very important. Prayers, we can say prayers. Even Haridas Thakur prayed, my dear Lord, Mahaprabhu, may the 10 offenses not affect me while I chant your holy name, and may I be absorbed in pure love when I chant your holy name. He's praying like this. And we can't imitate Haridas Thakur, but we can pray to the Lord. Please. Prabhupada said our only prayer should be, my dear Lord Krishna, you are sitting in my heart as a super soul. Will you please always cause me to remember to chant your holy names and not forget. Keep chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting. Japa, kirtan, whatever it is. Keep chanting, minimum 16 rounds, more and more. And gradually, this is surrender. Krishna will reciprocate. We'll start feeling maybe the different emotions were there. Sometimes we'll feel helplessness. Sometimes we'll feel, helpless in the sense we cannot. Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says it's impossible for the jiva to single-handedly control the illusion of inattention. It's impossible. It's only possible by the mercy of Krishna. Therefore, one should fervently pray, call out to the Lord for his mercy, that we can actually attend, that we can be attentive in chanting his name. His desire, if we have the desire, the sincere desire, Krishna will reciprocate, and it will grow the more we make the effort. The more we associate, make this effort to chant his names, to try to hear the sound of his name. And we'll start feeling helpless, we'll start feeling repentant, all different emotions may come up in the heart. This is Krishna's reciprocation, to burn out. It's called anutampa. It burns out all the various dirt within our hearts, all the various anarthas, whatever ill intent we have, dirty feelings we have, whatever it is. This is the process of burning it out. So naturally we'll feel various emotional things. But that's how gradually we become purified, gradually realizing the name is Krishna himself. And the more we become conscious in that regard, and naturally, the more in our hearts we'll feel that blissful association of Radha and Krishna. We just have to make that sincere endeavor. In the meantime, Prabhupada said, in Nairobi, I mentioned it the other day, but Prabhupada said, in the meantime, you perform your service under the direction of spiritual master. Keep chanting, following the principles, try to preach Krishna consciousness. And as we become more and more pure, then naturally our the taste for chanting will grow and grow and grow. It may not be immediately there. Taste sometimes takes time to grow. Is also described. There are many examples we could give. One example is many types of, let's say, very first-class nuts. They take a lot. Fruit nuts, the ones you eat. They take a long time to mature. They take time. They take care. So it'll take time, care. We have the process of cultivating and developing. And this taste, pure taste, not a taste where I want to enjoy. It's a spontaneous result of surrendering to the holy name. It's not something, I want. Maybe we do in the beginning, and maybe we always do, but it's not something that comes just from a desire to sort of, I want to be the enjoyer. It comes when we're actually absorbed in wanting to please Krishna, when our chanting is for the pleasure of Krishna. Or when our service is for the pleasure of Krishna, Krishna reciprocates. When our service is for the pleasure of the devotees, Krishna reciprocates. That takes time. We just have to do our part right now to try to be attentive, offenseless in our chanting. Try to chant without offense. Lord Chaitanya says, I have no taste for chanting because of offenses. Try to chant offenselessly, and specifically. We have a dentist out right next to us. Hello? What is it? Who is it? What is it? Who is it? What is it? I don't know if you can hear the loud sound of somebody drilling somewhere nearby. Maybe we close the windows. Hare Krishna. Sometimes we get the chance to have darshan of deities and do service every day. We may start taking it for granted. How can we avoid that and forever have a mood of gratitude? I wish I had myself. And definitely take things familiar. Reading Prabhupada's books regularly is very, very important. Very, very important to be reminded of how fortunate we are. To be reminded. Krishna also does his job, but we may not hear him. But we should at least remember every day to read Prabhupada's books carefully. Read the Bhagavad Gita to remember how fortunate we are. Remember, also remembering right now, so many years ago, at this time of the year, Prabhupada was on board the ship Jaladuta on his journey to America. Remember the sacrifice Prabhupada performed on our behalf. Remember the pure devotee. Remember how they serve their service, the love in their service, and associate with devotees who are more advanced, of course. And pray, if you're really sincere about this, you can pray that you don't become overwhelmed with familiarity. You do develop gratitude in that service. Try to give. Try to give what we have to others. Try to share it. Prabhupada said we should share. If we're doing daily worship, try to engage others in daily worship. If we're doing kirtan, try to engage others in kirtan. It doesn't mean they have to. Kirtan is more than just singing. It's everybody is singing, but everyone can take part. It's not you have to lead. Everyone can experience the good fortune of being in kirtan without thinking and seeing oneself in the center. Same in daily worship. Try to engage everyone somewhere or another in worship in the day. This will help us to become free of this mentality of becoming either over familiar, because if you're over familiar, it won't inspire others to do it. So we have to, and reading about it, proper performance of worship, service, etc., etc. Always in prayer. There's a question which has been skipped. Which one is that? Oh, there's quite a few of them. So where we are. Okay. Which one is it? We did that one. Oh yes, here we go. One. In the current circumstances of lockdown and not being able to visit the local temples, how best can we celebrate the festival of Janmashtami in our homes? Would it be okay to finish the celebration, say before 10, considering the neighbors and also need to go to work the following day? Yeah, you have to use your common sense. Indeed. No doubt. But maybe sometimes quiet. When Srila Prabhupada was in Second Avenue, the neighbor above him would sometimes pour water through the floorboards if they made too much noise. So they would chant quietly, keeping it quiet. Of course, you cannot possibly, because of work or other commitments, stay up. That's how it is. But if you can stay up to that moment, that's even better. But you can be quiet, little quiet. It's not the loudness of the kirtan only, it's from the heart. You can read and chant quietly, Depends on where you live, how quiet you have to be. It doesn't have to be a roaring kirtan. We're reading Krishna books, quiet kirtan, quiet bhajans, etc. And at home, you can do the same thing. Chant, offer nice foodstuffs to the deity, read from whatever, Krishna book, Srimad Bhagavatam, chant, japa. Like that, same program, basically, as it was when we joined. It wasn't very complicated. You can do the same thing in your home. And it is very good if we can stay up till midnight. If you can't, you can't. Sickness, old age, work, whatever it may be. Obviously children. But as much as we can make this little sacrifice, the better it is. The more we get the association, the appearance of Krishna. Well, I think that's it. So we'll finish now with a little kirtan. And we hope you all have a wonderful Janmashtami festival, followed by Srila Prabhupada's Appearance Day festival. Obviously, if you're working, it's not so easy, but at least do something on that day. Don't forget Srila Prabhupada's appearance. Without the appearance of Srila Prabhupada, would have no appearance of Krishna. Try your best to honor the appearance of Srila Prabhupada, which whatever date it is in your part of the world, and Krishna will be very pleased. Not by chance Krishna appeared. Prabhupada appears the day after Krishna appears. Special arrangement of the Lord. That's actually Nandotsava, when the feast, festival, to celebrate Krishna's appearance takes place. The actual feast is the day after, in tradition. We may have something at midnight, Ekadashi Prashadam. But the next day is Prabhupada's appearance. We should at least do something on that day, something nice, which will remind us that without the mercy of the spiritual master, no one can attain Krishna. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama. The Prabhupada ki jai, Lord Premanande. You know, when we engage in service and when we're on Harinam, Kirtan in the temple, or whatever, we have so much external impetus, you could say, to facilitate our absorption in what we're doing. When we're chanting japa, it's very internal. Very internal. It is natural when our minds are full of all kinds of other thoughts. It's natural. It would be very difficult. It's like when, as another question was there, when we're during our day, how we become familiar, we forget Krishna, because we're associated externally with objects and persons that don't make it very easy to remember Krishna. So we try our best to make an external arrangement which is favorable to remember Krishna, even when we're chanting japa, the time of the day, the place, you know, and like that. In the temple, in a home, with pictures, and clean condition, whatever it is, anything that helps us to become a little bit more focused on the holy name. It's internal. When our minds are full of other things, it's naturally very difficult to. It's only natural. So the process of devotional service, generally, gradually, helps to purify away, cleanse away those things within our heart. The more we can do kirtan, and so on and so forth. Of course, if we're very determined, we'll keep focusing on the name, bringing our minds back. But don't get depressed. Just keep chanting and absorb ourselves in service which we're inspired to do, which helps us to, you know, let's say, become more conscious of Krishna, etc. And gradually will become internal. Our relationship with Krishna internally will start to become clearer and clearer. We'll be conscious of Krishna. As Krishna says in Gita, in all your activities, be conscious of me. Gradually it will come. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Well, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. We'll see you again soon. And have a great Janmashtami, Vyasa Puja every day. Thank you. Hari Bol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Haribo, Haribo. They will again, never mind. We're hearing them. Haribo, Haribo.